episode 1 of our Square Table Conversation, where we talk about topics that matter and give you our take on the topic.
So today's topic is about there are a lot of conversations about how we can change the education system in India. So we thought about how about we look into history and take some pointers from it. So the topic for today is, can the ancient Gurukul system be still implemented in India? So to first understand, let us to first start off. Let's understand what a Gurukul system is.
So, what was a Gurukul system? It was basically a holistic schooling system where children of maybe like 8 to 10 years of age used to go to their teacher's ashram and stay there for about 10 to 15 years and learn various topics from like about 18 to 20 different subjects. So that was the basic idea of Gurukul system, and why it was started was basically to promote equality and to have a sense of student-centered learning in the schools or Gurukuls that were existing. So that was why it was started, and then
Yeah, I think Gurukul system, it provided that holistic development to it's basically like the hostel system that we have now, right? But in a more organized way, it is to go to the guru's place and learn everything. Not only studies, I think how to lead a life. Then there was uh, Vedic scriptures that was taught to them, and they would learn yoga, uh, household chores, everything. So it made them more independent. And going forward, I think they specialized in one shastra or upashastra, and then they would become proficient in that. I think that was a good system, but can we implement that now? Can you think the current system would parents let their children go for so many years and stay with the guru? And mostly education system now is more commercialized. Before it was just, there was no money that they had to pay. They had to give a guru dakshina towards the end of the studies. So do you think that can be?
I think more than can we, the question should is that it's almost like a necessity now because of the values that were inculcated throughout the Gurukul system or during the Vedic age isn't there anymore. And that's the reason why the foundation of our culture is like shaken. But when you see other religions that are prevailing in India, like let's just look at the top, the major religions as such, they already have like a system in place, and no matter who or how educated or let's say even the uneducated ones know exactly what their religion is. So I think Gurukul system was mostly for Hindus as such, but then once everybody started being part of it or involving everybody, it's more about the learning than what is about the scriptures as such.
Yeah, I think what you said about this religions part, I think each religion has a system, but the framework of Gurukul can be implemented in any religion
yes.
to impart the knowledge.
Yes.
Because nowadays there's a lot of scope for, nowadays people are like, okay, they want to preserve their ancient scriptures, they want to understand what is Bhagavad Gita or the Artha Shastra, everything. People are interested in it, but when you don't get the right kind of guidance for it, there's chances of wrong interpretation. They're not able to understand what is happening there. When there's a system where there's a proper teacher who can teach you all of this, I think it'll be better.
The wrong interpretation thing that you just said, it is already I think it has already started happening because there are many reels and there are many shorts on YouTube and Instagram where they say, okay, these names are Sanskrit names, these are from such text and all that, But there are other people who have debunked that, and they have told that these are not actually Sanskrit names. You should not name your child these names. You have to actually read those scriptures and then decide for yourself. Don't go with reels that are made of, maybe they depend on AI or something, and then they say give me some Sanskrit names, and then they just make a reel out of that. They don't actually read
Yeah, because that's an easier way of choosing names these days. Yeah.
So that is another reason why we should bring in the Gurukul system, where they actually read those texts from a very young age and they know what.
Yeah,
what
learning.
to-
You mean learning all of this from Google or AI as such is like half knowledge.
Half
So you
knowledge,
don't.
yeah.
So it might not be true for you as a person. So do the reading and then
Do the
come to a
actual research,
conclusion.
yeah.
Yes. That's true.
If you look at the current situation in India, there are 3,000 Gurukuls still existing in today's world. And if you look at who are the kids who are actually going to these schools, I feel like it's the families that want their kids to have the spiritual knowledge as well as spiritual development. So today, if you look at the modern school, it's only education, and there are all these different
History and
subjects,
stuff, yes.
history, geography, biology, whatever it is, and or they also have sports. Not saying that there are not extracurricular activities, but if you look at the spiritual development or spiritual learning, it's very limited, especially when it comes to Hinduism. So when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to is Muslims, they have their convents, they have their madrasas, they have places for religious studies. But there are no such thing for developing kids about Hinduism. And that's why if you see today, many of them, they lack the required knowledge, or they're not fully aware of what Hinduism is actually about, and they're not aware of the essence of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Spirituality, and in fact even Indian history. There are many parts of Indian history that are not there in our textbooks. They are like simply eliminated from there.
Yes.
So people don't know. They think that Mughals gave us the architecture and everything. So they don't know about many kingdoms that were there. So history and spirituality both are not there.
Yeah.
So Gurukul system will bring that
Very
back
true.
as well.
But like when there are 3,000 Gurukuls is what she said, but children who go through that education system, is there any, does the government actually recognize them? Like after that education is completed, what's the way forward? They have to come back to the conventional
Yeah.
education system.
Are they connected to the reality of the current world?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the major concerns of Gurukul system. And apart from that, it's also about the inclusion of people.
If you look at it traditionally, the Gurukul system was based, the training for the students was given based on the caste, simply because it made it easier for people to gain the training according to their sector or their family. So, for example, if someone was a Kshatriya, they received archery, they received all the physical training, on-field experience, whatever they required when in the future for them. That's the kind of training that they receive. So, but today obviously that's not relevant. So everybody will have to receive an equal kind of an education or a training, because anybody can do anything in today's world. So it's not limited. And one major thing is it was only the boys that received the boys were the only ones who received education, and obviously today that's not the case. Everybody is equal, girls, boys, everybody and everybody else too is has to receive the kind of education they need. So that part definitely has to be mended, and Gurukul system has to be more inclusive of everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Even though like girls or some of the girls also received education in the Gurukul system, I think it was very limited. And people were also not very open of girls going and receiving education. Maybe they had a separate Gurukul for them or something like that. But now it's like, it's different. Everyone can sit in the same classroom and learn. So, yeah.
Nowadays, so what parents do is to ensure that the kids can take the informed decision, they know stuff. They put them in any number of extracurricular activities apart from school. But in a Gurukul system, I think all those things were part of school itself. Everything was taught there, music, sports, everything was taught in
That
one
is
place.
exactly what holistic development.
Yeah, and third, it's like school is just doing the part of theory, whatever, knowledge, and everything else has to be done by the parents, and you have to go to different places. If you just bring everything together and you give a proper education to a child, they become better citizens and then lead to a better country. Also, I feel that the law and the current education system is completely marked ranking based. There's no way of,
The continuous evaluation is missing.
yeah.
So now you're not able to know the growth of a child. It's only on the day of the exam. Who knows if somebody just read a day before and they're good at memorizing? How are you going to figure out that the person is good? Yes.
There's just one aspect. It's just the writing skill that is being. Yeah, it's it. Their memory and their writing skill. There are so many ways to assess a child, and only based on these two skills, they have to take life decisions like will they become a doctor, will they become an engineer, and they have to handle life with so many people just based on these skills. That's something that's not right. It's only possible when there's a system where, like, for example, in a Gurukul system, there used to be a teacher who used to be there throughout with them and
A child learning.
the child learning phase. They would be able to analyze the kid better rather than just mark and exams just give a lot of pressure to children. Just one day you cannot study the whole year's syllabus and just write it. That's very easy.
Yeah, that's also because it becomes tougher because there is no practicality in what you're doing. It's all theory. So if, let's say for example, let's talk about, you said about tax filing, right? How about a student, let's not call it exam, right? You just give a random individual's tax and ask them to file it. If they've learned how to do it, they'll be easily able to file the tax. Right? That's an example of how you're including, uh, getting that practicality aspect of what you've learned. So now I think we've also learned about income tax, but we just learned about the jargons of income tax. That's all. And now I remember my mom when she asked me to file income tax just because I was in commerce. Then I had like a big blown argument with her saying that this is not what we were taught. These are only the jargons that we learned. So I don't know the practicality of how the tax filing thing works. But over the years that we've started doing it on our own, it's become easier for us to, understand how it works. But that's too late, right? And what about a few of our friends who are not in our area of work? What are they supposed to do? I have friends who are engineers. I have a lot of other friends who are not even exposed to how filing only works. They just find some CA and they just give it to them. And that's how CAs are also working. But their living is coming out of it. But then, what is the point if you can't do a basic job yourself? Yeah. So